Hello there, I am MrSuperjolly. Now I'm going to tell you my thoughts and opinions on the Curse of Naxxramas, which is just on the horizon. They finally announced all the class cards, all 9, and they've announced 5 neutrals out of the 30 cards. So they've nearly announced half of the cards already, which is sad. Wait, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 out of 30. But there's going to be so many interesting cards in the new expansion, I hope, because these ones, anyone like these ones, I'm really looking forward. I just like the anticipation of what stupid stuff they're gonna add, what stupid stuff everyone's gonna moan about that they're gonna nerf. But of course, I'm normally anti-nerfing. I think people are a bit rush when they judge cards on how well they're doing in the meta. So far of the cards they've announced, I think they're all pretty balanced. I think some are a bit worse than others, but I don't think there's any that I go, hey, that's going to make this class overpowered, or it's so good it's going to have to be used in every deck, which is good. I applaud Blizzard. Keeping up their balanced philosophy, keeping the game fun and entertaining. And try and give it variety. Now, let's start with the neutral card, shall we? Let's take a look at Dancing Swords. A 3-mana 4/4 Death Rattle, your opponent draws a card. This is probably one of the weaker cards of the bunch. I don't like it at all, and I'd probably never use it in my deck. I think as it is, a 3-mana 4/4, if the Death Rattle goes off, it's just not worth it. You're basically I say you're basically paying a stat point. You're getting 1 extra stat point, so your opponent draws a card. But even that's not really true, because so far all the other cards that are 3-mana 3/4s or 3-mana 4/3s all have card text anyway. So they're even better. They're slightly better than 3-mana 3/4s. Of course, they're class cards, but I think there's a bit more to it than that. So you'll get. It's almost like you're getting half a stat point for letting your opponent draw a card. And it's a Death Rattle, so yes, it's preventable. Yes, they don't get it straight away. Doesn't mean it's terrible. It means your 3-mana 4/4 has to be able to trade at least 2 for 1. And that 2 for 1 should preferably be one with a 3-mana and something else. But at the moment, a 4/4 can't really trade too well with a 3-mana minion. If you look at the good 3-mana minions like Scarlet Crusader and Harvest Golem, both of those would deal with Dancing Swords without any support. So that's a bit of an issue for me. But that's just one of the weaker cards. Let's just go on. I don't think it's interesting, but I don't think it's very well pulled off. I prefer the 5-mana 7/6 Venture Code. That's a good card. I don't think Dancing Swords will see too much play in Arena or Constructed. Okay, the Undertaker though. No, brighter note. The 1-mana 1/2. Whenever you summon a minion with Death Rattle, gain +1/+1. Now this is an interesting. It's like a variant of the Secret Keeper, except it doesn't have to be secrets. It can be minions with Death Rattle. And there are a lot. I don't know if there's more minions with Death Rattle than secrets, but there's more quality minions with Death Rattle than secrets. I mean, Harvest Golems and Loot Hoarders are much better than Mirror Entity or Vaporize and stuff like that. There were just a couple of secrets I thought off my head. They're actually adding quite a few more secrets in with the class cards. So secrets might be getting better and going on the up. So Secret Keeper might see more play. But I sort of doubt it, because it's just a situational. I mean, it's good. You get 1 buff onto it, it's already worth its weight in gold. You've saved a whole mana if you can play a Secret Keeper and play a secret. You've saved a whole mana if you can play an Undertaker and you can play a Death Rattle minion turn 2. But it's situational. No, it's early plays. It's even more unlikely to draw the combo. It's unlikely to draw 2 specific cards in the first mulligan than it is to do by turn 5 or turn 6, because you'll have drawn cards every turn till then. So I still don't think Undertaker's a great card, just because a 1 mana 1/2 is like the worst. It's like, it might not be the most common scenario, but it's a really bad scenario. You're basically giving your opponent a free 2-for-1. So Nerubian egg, are you going to shake the heart of us and make shake the heart of us? That doesn't even make sense. Anyway, Nerubian egg, are you gonna be better than the other cards we've seen? Yes, you are, because you're a 2 mana 4/4. It's crazy overpowered. Sort of. Maybe not. Maybe. I don't know. I don't like the arguments I've seen people make. It's like, it's not even a 2 mana 4/4. It's a 2 mana 4/6, because look, you get the 2 health and the Nerubian egg as well, but it doesn't have any attack, so that health doesn't matter. In fact, that health's the only thing standing between just being a completely overpowered card and actually quite no, I don't say it's a bad card, but it's quite a specific card. Reminds me of like the Ancient Watcher. Yes, you can play it, but to activate it, you need a other card to activate it, like a Owl or a Defender of Argus. In the Nerubian Egg's case, it's slightly easier to activate because it doesn't have to be a taunt buff, and it can't be a silence to activate Nerubian Egg, but it can be any sort of buff, so it doesn't have to be a taunt buff, which is the Defender of Argus and the Sun Fury for the Ancient Watcher. The Nerubian Egg needs any buff so you can trade it off, because your enemy's not going to attack into it. Or you could use a other card to destroy it, like a spell. But really, you're gonna play a 2 mana egg, and then you're gonna use a 2 mana spell to get a 4/4. So not only have you given your use 2-for-1 to get a 4, you've used 2 cards and 4 mana to get a 4/4. That's bad. That's why it's only going to be useful in decks with a lot of buffs like Zoo. And Zoo is not going to be played in Zoo. I think that's what a lot of people are thinking. Like, of course it's going to be played with Zoo. It's a tempo card. No, it's not a tempo card. It's a mana saving card. It's rubbish at keeping board control, because on your second turn you can play the Nerubian Egg and it's a 0/2. And then you have to wait a whole extra turn. You have to buff it on turn 3. And then you can't attack with the 4/4 until turn 4. So you're not actually ramping out anything with the Nerubian Egg. It's still like a 4/4 on turn 4. It's just by turn 4. It's like okay. So you've sacrificed some tempo in the early game, so you can ramp out something better on turn 4. I think there's a lot easier cards to do things like that, like Innovate. I mean, Innovate can hit on any, like that can ramp out 4/4 straight away. And you sort of using an extra card to do it, but you're getting a 4 mana minions. Like, I just don't think the Nerubian Egg's like anything too special. I can see it being used more than Dancing Swords and Undertaker though. We'll have to see though. I think it's an interesting card. It's sort of anti-AoE. It's nice to have a Nerubian Egg if you're worried about lightning source or something, because your enemy, like, it would be really bad if the enemy are forced to like kill it. Like, give it taunt. I mean, that's nearly as good as buffing it and trading it off, because the enemy still has to attack into it or they can't do anything. Okay, next up, 3 mana Shade of Naxxramas. He's a 2/2. At the end of your turn, gain +1/+1. Now this is an interesting card. What you got to ask yourself is, how many turns does it have to like stay in stealth before it becomes value for money? And the answer is like 2 turns. So it's a 3 mana that doesn't get any value for 2 turns. Well, after 2 turns there'll be a 4/4 with stealth, which is better than good for... No, so it's like 1 turn. So at the start of your next turn, it's a 3/3 with stealth. It's slow, but a 3/3 with stealth for 3 mana I wouldn't run. But this also gets the benefit of getting +1/+1 every turn. the problem with this card, it's so slow. Maybe in like late game control decks where you can play it and then it will be there, and then you can rely that it will still be around at the end when you need to do some final damage. But as soon as you've taken it out of stealth, the ability isn't that useful. And while it's in stealth, the ability is not that useful because you can't attack with the attack and health you're getting. So what's the point of it? So it seems like it's a lose-lose situation. Play early, attack early, and it's going to die quickly before it gets any value. Attack late game, your opponent will already have drawn a solution to it, like a polymorph or hex, and it's really just going to do like one burst of damage. And there are already other burst cards that do that, like Savage Roar. It's weird comparing it to Savage Roar and things, but like you wait until it's an 8/8, and so you can do 8 damage to the face. Not only will that take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it'll take like 6 turns, which is a bit ridiculous. If you wait 6 turns, whereas like I don't know what you can do with an 8/8. It will just get polymorphed because your opponent will have drawn 6 cards, and in those 6 cards, only one of them needs to be something to deal with, like a big minion. I don't. It might be the Shade of Naxxramas is one of those ones though that might be good in arena. It might be okay in arena because it's an okay standalone card. It doesn't need any backing up. It'd be interesting to see decks where like they play the Shade of Naxxramas and they just wait and they constantly just buff it up more and more until it's this crazy massive minion and like get one turn kill. Again, it seems a bit gimmicky. Maybe less of a competitive card and more of a fun card. Okay, and finally, we get to the gimmick of all gimmicks. Baron Rivendare. Yay. The legendary. I think it's strange to have legendaries in the Curse of Naxxramas since you're going to get the same cards every time, so why do the cards have like different rarities? You're not less likely to get them. I guess for the legendary it sort of matters because it matters for arena because you're less likely to get legendary than an epic and you're less likely to get an epic than a rare, so I guess in that sense. And legendaries you don't have one in deck, so maybe I was wrong to like judge their rarities. So it doesn't really mean rarity anymore as much because you don't open them in packs. Your minions trigger their death rattle twice. Anyway, Baron Rivendare reads, it's a 4-mana 1/7. 4-mana 1/7, where have I seen that before? Oh yes, the Moshigan Warden. It was horrible stat distribution. This is not what I want. But then again, this is a Cartex minion, so you want it to stick around. And 1/7s are hard to deal with. They don't die to Fireball. They won't die. You don't want to polymorph Baron Rivendare, but sometimes you might be forced to. Especially if you already have Death Rattle minions on the field. You play Baron Rivendare, then you attack them with your Death Rattle minion. Your Death Rattle triggers twice. I say that doesn't always get value for Baron Rivendare, but if it's something like a Loot Hoarder, you've got 2 cards. If it's something like a... if it's something like a Kane, yeah, you get a 4/5, but that's so unlikely. I wouldn't worry too much about that. If it's a Harvest Golem, you get 2/1. So a 1/7, a 4-mana 1/7 with a token 2/1 isn't good. So, I mean, Baron Rivendare seems... Sometimes it can be good, but other times, even if it does get the Death Rattle, I think it can be bad. I think it's like a more of a win more card, because the problem is, if you don't have any board control, you're not going to have many Death Rattle minions on the field. So you won't be able to do the trading. You can't play Baron Rivendare and then a Death Rattle minion, because the next turn, the enemies aren't going to... They'll kill Baron Rivendare before they kill the Death Rattle minion. You need to already have Death Rattle minions on the field before Baron Rivendare actually does anything, which is sad. Because, so, in that... I don't know. I just don't think in too many situations he'll be able to actually help you win a game. He'll just help you not lose a game that you're winning. Darn. Because he's such 4 mana 1/7, so bad for tempo. Even with the Mogushan Warden's Taunt, like it doesn't like stop the enemies enough that you can build up back a board against them. Though I am interested to see what people are going to do with Death Rattle decks, or whether they'll like be viable at all in the meta, or whether they'll just be like down with the major secret decks and the hunters trap. Well, no, the hunters actually did use their traps to good effect to kill people. We'll see. Anyway, moving on to the class cards. There's a nice new class card, one for each class. Let's start. Druid. Its new card is Poison Seeds. So it's a 4 mana. And it reads destroy all minions and summon 2/2 treants to replace them. So it fits in with the Druid's lovely treants. They have way too many of them. They've got way too many treants. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it. I think it is. Anyway. So they got Force of Nature, they got Soul of the Forest, they've got the 9 mana Cenarius that summons treants. Or it can. Anyway. But is the card any good? I think it's okay. I think it's sort of like a strange equality where it sort of evens the playing field. The only difference between this is it actually still activates the death rattles, and it does kill the minions. It doesn't just make them 1 health, which like equality sort of evens the playing field, but like an 8/1 still better than a 3/1, even if they're going to trade evenly, because they could like somehow destroy your 3/1 and an 8/1, and if you can't deal with their 8/1, then anyway, you're still ahead. Whereas Poison Seeds, everything's going to be a 2/2, and so everything it's like a full board clear almost. For 4 mana, that's a lot better than Twisted Nether. The problem with Twisted Nether is like 8 mana to destroy all minions is just too much. Poison Seeds does it for a lot cheaper, but it's got its obvious like downsides. That one, you could be like buffing minions that are like really small. Like if your enemy's got lots of 1/1s, you're making their 1/1s into 2/2s, and you're wasting mana and using a card to do it. Plus, all your big minions are gonna like get like nerfed down to like 2/2s. So yeah, that's a lot of reason why Twisted Nether's bad. Is because it puts you behind, because a board clear seems fair, like oh they lose everything, I lose everything, but unless they've got better board than you, it's bad because you have to spend you had to spend 8 mana to use the Twisted Nether and a card. So if they're 8 mana and a card ahead of you on board control, like yeah, maybe Twisted Nether is a good play, but that's an unlikely situation. So the same goes with Poison Seeds. Unless the enemy's board is like 4 mana better than yours and a card better, then Poison Seed's just a bad play. And also you have to take into account Death Rattles. If they got lots of Death Rattle minions that benefit them, then Poison Seed's going to be less effective because the cards that you're destroying, some of their value comes from that Death Rattle, which you're not actually preventing. It's nice. The Druid don't have much AoE though. They got Swipe, but that's not very good against big minions. Poison Seed's like very good against big minions. It's just bad against small minions. So we'll see. I don't think it's I don't know. I don't think this is undercosted. I do think Twisted Nether's completely overcosted though. It's like, why do you have to make the coolest looking card in the game? No one wants to play it because it's so expensive. Next up we got Webspinner. This is the Hunter card. Not too much to say. It's a 1 mana 1/1, which is bad. But it's like a Novice Engineer. You get a card back. So that's actually like a 1 mana cheaper Novice Engineer, except it's a Death Rattle, which is obviously has its slight disadvantage, but not. It just means the Webspinner's better in the early game, but worse in the late game, which Hunters don't really have much of a late game anyway. So, but I like it. I really like the Webspinner. I think it's just good. It's just a free 1/1, and then you're just cycling through your cards. I don't drawing a card in Hearthstone's normally worth like 1 to 2 mana, so it's all balanced. I think drawing a card's only worth 1 mana if it's a Death Rattle, plus it's a class card, so it gets value from that. I think this card's slightly better than the Loot Hoarder, and of course it's not just any card; it's a beast card, which I guess can sometimes be a benefit and sometimes be a downside. I think in the most part it'll be a benefit because lots of hunter decks rely on beast synergy, so it's always nice to have a beast in your hand. I can see it being downside if you run out of beasts and you try to play Webspinner, you won't actually draw a card, I don't think. Unless they got a special card for if you don't have any beasts left in your deck, like the Worthless Imp. And if you play Mind Games and you don't have any cards left in your deck, it comes up with a 0/4 something. I forget what it's called, but you get, they feel sorry for you. Anyway, let's look at the mage card, Duplicate. This is an interesting card. It's like Arcane Intellect. What? No, it's not like Arcane Intellect. What are you talking about? It's a secret. And you're getting 2 copies of the minion you put on the board into your hand. But all Arcane Intellect does is let you draw 2 cards. All Duplicate does is let you draw the same card twice, but the downside to it, it's a secret and can be sort of played around. For 1, the enemy knows which card that they're going to give you. 2, yeah, so they can give you 2. They can make you draw 2 bad cards that you don't want. Like, it's unlikely that you're going to get something really good with this card. I'd probably prefer Arcane Intellect just to draw the 2 cards straight away. Like, that's the other thing about Duplicate. It's slow. You play the secret. You have to wait you wait at least a turn before the enemy kills anything on the board, and then the enemy might decide to wait another turn. You still don't get the cards, and meanwhile your enemy's like 3 mana ahead of you, so they're building up a board advantage. You don't have the cards to keep up. It's all terrible. Of course, I think Duplicate would be a lot better if you could activate it on your turn. Because you could play Duplicate and then you could trade off one of your minions, like one of your better minions, and get two of them back. But so far, I don't think Duplicate's going to be like the savior of secrets in this game. I don't think it's going to be the greatest card in the world. But it might see more played in the other secrets that the mage has, because Mirror Entity and Vaporize aren't the best. No, like none of the secrets in this game seem very, very great, except the Hunters. The Hunters' Explosive Trap's pretty good, and so's Misdirection, Freeze, and Trap. They're all okay-ish. So I'm so negative about how bad like every card is, where everyone's like saying they're over bad. They're good. They're gonna, like, any card out of this lot that are gonna be used in any deck is gonna like have a dramatic effect on the meta. I'm hoping there'll be enough cards that there'll be new like styles of decks. Like, because at the moment you've got your like aggro decks, your mid-range deck, your late game decks, your draw, like your big combo decks, your control, like your mage control decks that like rely on one big combo at the end, but instead of drawing into your combo, you just delay your opponent long enough so you can draw the combo like just normally. And there's the warrior super late game decks that have so much armor that you can get your big creatures. I don't know. People need to be creative. I'm sure there's great new decks. Anyway, next up, Avenge. Secret. 1 mana, secret. When one of your minion dies, give a friendly minion +3/+2. Avenge is an okay card. People have been saying, like, oh, it'll be okay in aggro Paladin, but you don't want to use it in control Paladin. And I sort of agree, because... Oh, Avenge is 1 mana. It fits in with the other Paladin secrets. It's a 3/2 buff. But it's like all the downsides. It's like, it's a buff with... Like, all the good thing... The best thing about buffing a minion... 3/2 over playing a 3/2 is that, like, the 3/2 goes through right away. It's almost as it's got charge. But Avenge can't activate on your turn, so one of your random minions will get a +3/+2 when one of your minions dies. So by the time it's your turn again, like, it won't really have had charge because you played Avenge the turn before, and you go and get to use the +3/+2 buff until the next turn after. So it's like I think it's worse than a 3/2 buff. I think I'd prefer, like, if it was +2/+3, getting them more health than the attack, because then at least you could, like, get more trades out of one of your minions. I don't know. Anyway, a 1 mana 3/2 is good value either way. It's just... Also, it gives the buff to a random minion, so you don't have much control over it. And I can imagine it can easily go to a minion that you just don't want to be buffed. I love a good thing about buffs is, like, you can buff things out of range of, like, AoE and stuff. But if you don't have control about what gets buffed, then it just won't work. There's not so much strategy. That's why it's good in aggro decks, because it doesn't matter what gets the buff, it's just getting the extra free damage through, which it most likely will. It's nice to have more secrets, because having one extra secret with the Paladin, like, unintentionally actually just buffs all the other 1 mana secrets, which is great. So maybe now people will think twice about what Paladin secret is, other than knowing it's, like, Noble Sacrifice. Anyway, moving on. The Priest 2 class card. 3 mana, 3/4. Death Rattle, give a friendly minion +3 health. Now, I'm excited about this card. This card seems very good. Seems very, very, very good. Well, sort of good. Well, I don't know. A 3 mana, 3/4. Everyone thought there would be a vanilla 3 mana 3/4. And apparently that's not good enough. They have to also give it this amazing effect. And of course it's a class card. Class cards have slight advantages over other neutral cards. So neutral 3/4. Oh, if you had a neutral 3/4 with Death Rattle, give a friendly minion +3 health, I think that'd be a bit overpowered. But since it's a priest card, and, like, priests need that need that extra push to put them back and, like, help them compete in the meta. Because I think they can compete in the meta. Like, I think people are a bit harsh on priests. Oh, they're terrible in every single way. It's like, it's just it. I think people feel like they've got a slight disadvantage when they're playing priest. So giving them the priest this card, Dark Cultist, give them this early game they need, or, like, early mid game. Like, what do priests have at 3 mana? Not much. In fact, they don't really have much at 2 mana or 3 mana, except spells that, like, destroy stuff. So they really needed this minion, a good strong minion. Plus the Dark Cultist also really helps their early game, because it's not just the fact it buffs the 2-drop that they also play. I mean, the downside to Dark Cultist is if it dies and there's no minion on the board, nothing's going to get free health. But I guess it's an interesting, because it's almost like almost invisible card tech reads everything else on the board has taunt, because you don't want to kill the Dark Cultist unless it's the only thing on the board. So it's going to be really awkward to play around. Like that other card, Northshire Cleric's really awkward to play around. Priests have a lot of cards that are really awkward to play around. Like the 5/5. Oh, what's it called? I should know this. Anyway, there's a 5/5 minion that attacks always equal to his health. I don't know why I've forgotten. But anyway, that's also awkward to play around, because you know the priest can always just heal it back up if you can't kill it in one hit. And it's hard to kill it in one hit because it's got 5 health. Ugh. So if the Dark Cultist hits, it's really, really good. It's like this card's got everything going for it. It's got the right stat distribution. It's got the death rattle to, like, the effects on the death rattle to give it like a bit of extra mana value. Because death rattle's slightly worse, so they can afford to give it better stats than it would have. If it was a 3 mana 3/4, like give a friendly minion 3 health, like you could choose. If it was a battle cry, then yeah, that'd be really good, and it might cost like 4 mana. But because it's a death rattle, they could afford to like push it down to 3 mana to make it at the top end of a like it could have been like a bad 4 mana card or a really good 3 mana card. And they chose to make it a good 3 mana card. So good for them, because they need everyone. Good for Blizzard, because we want great priest cards. So priests can be OP again. Yay. Anyway, Rogue is next. This is the Anub'ar Ambusher. 4 mana 5/5. What? It's better than the Chillwind Yeti. But a slight downside. Death Rattle, return a friendly minion to your hand. A lot of people are saying, like, no, this isn't a downside. This is an upside. Because if you return something with a battle cry to your hand, you get to use that battle cry again. And everyone seems to forget that you have to pay the mana again, and you really badly affects your tempo. And Rogue's all about tempo, so it's strange to put like an anti-tempo card. So maybe the other way you could look at it is like, well, it doesn't matter if you send the card back to your hand, because Rogues already have enough like tempo plays that they can push forward, even if you do like sacrifice. If you like sapping your minion back to your hand is generally a bad play. But in a tempo, it's not so bad, because there are lots of low cost minions that you can just play it out again, and they're good. They get even better. Like if you return a what's it called? A Defiance Ringleader to your hand, you play again, you've got 2/2/1s. Even though you just like, it's hardly as bad as like if you were a priest and you returned like your Yeti to your hand or something. Anyway, I'm going on. But it's a death rattle again. That means it's going to be a random minion return to your hand, so you have no control. Of course, if it dies when there's no minions on the board, then you don't return anything to your hand, which is good. It's very good. You've just got away with playing a 4 mana 5/5. But I think it's unlikely that you'll play the 4 mana 5/5. You might play the 4 mana 5/5 on an empty board, possibly. And then your opponent can't kill it. Then the next turn you have to decide, well, do I want to play my minions? Because they'll just get returned to my hand. But maybe then you can kill off the Ambusher anyway. I think it's a good card. I can't work out in my head if it's gonna help tempo Rogue or it's gonna make it worse. Like whether you'd put it in that deck. But I think you might. I think it's one of the more interesting, less obvious, like how good it is cards. Like Poison Seas. I think Poison Seas and the Anub'ar Ambusher are both like quite... It's hard to tell how good they actually are. We'll have to see him play. Anyway, next up is Rebirth. Rebirth. Shaman's class card. Destroy a minion and return it to life with full health. This is very much a combo card. Yay, combo cards. I mean, everyone loves combo cards, don't they? Yay. Leroy, Shadow Step, Leroy, Shadow Step. People get so angry at that. Ugh. So you can play Leroy and you can rebirth him. And 2 mana 6 damage, which is the equivalent of Shadow Step. It's actually exactly the same. Except you don't give your opponent more whelps, which doesn't actually make much of a difference if you're going to kill them anyway. I mean, like, well, there's nothing wrong. Like, if Shaman's got an even better Leroy combo than the Rogues, like, people still going to be using Miracle Rogue, because the reason Miracle Rogue works is because of the card draw. There is a sort of Miracle Shaman where you can use gadgets down Auctioneer with, like, lightning bolts and stuff. But that's not very popular, because there's just not... It's not as easy to combo off great chains of card draw. It's less consistent. Rebirth could be interesting with some other cards, like... I don't know. I think I saw once there was someone playing Injured Blademaster in a Shaman deck, and they used Ancestral Spirit to make it a 3/7 with Taunt, and then Ancestral Spirit has got loads of value. And if you got 2 Injured Blademasters and you got your Rebirths and your Ancestral Spirits, then that combo's more likely to turn up. The problem with Rebirth and Ancestral Spirit is, like, most of the time they're probably going to be bad cards. Like, Rebirth 2 mana to, like, even just to heal a minion to full health isn't very good. I mean, the good thing about Rebirth is you get the Death Rattles, but... Like, you can use it to cycle, probably. Like, if you had a card with a Death Rattle, draw a card, you rebirth it, then you're just cycling, which is okay. Like, it's nice to have a card that, like, has the potential, if you can't get value of it because you don't have the right cards, at least you can cycle it, so it's not just it hasn't been a complete waste, and you haven't, like, just put yourself behind. Anyway, next up, Voidcaller. Yay. I love a 3/4. 4 mana 3/4. And so, but this one's 4 mana. The priest one's 3 mana. But this one's 4 mana because its Death Rattle is significantly better. It's put a demon from your hand into the battlefield. And that can be good. That can be, well, it has potential to be really good. If you've got a demon in your hand and you can call it out and using the Voidcaller, like, let's say a 3/4, like, should be 3 mana, even though the Dark Cultist is like, no. 3/4 for 3 mana isn't good enough. But the Voidcaller, let's say a 3/4 is about 3 mana, then you really only need to put a demon from your hand into the battlefield that's worth 1 mana or more to get the Voidcaller, like, value. Well, not value, but if the Voidcaller calls out a Flame Imp, that's like, I mean, even though a Flame Imp's 1 mana, it's like the equivalent of drawing out a 2 mana demon, because you don't, obviously the battle cry that hurts you doesn't take effect, so that's even better. So I think Voidcaller is just a supreme buffed, like, a llama bot. It's what everyone's always wanted. I really like the Voidcaller. I think it could, like, I don't know if it would make demon decks viable, because, like, most of the demons are still bad. Like, even if you think, well, but, like, now the Pit Lord's really good because you can just Voidcaller it. You don't have to take the damage. But you only get 2 Voidcallers, and it's unlikely you can, like, yeah, sure, you might be able to avoid, like, 6 damage over the course of 1 game, but it's hardly going to be very consistent. Like, most time you're just going to have to play your bad demons, and, like, just unnecessarily give your opponent value. Though it's nice that they add a demon card, like, to promote that side, because that's definitely the weaker side to Warlock. Like, the aggro side's, like, overdone. Anyway, finally, after all those cards, we've got Warriors class card, Death Spite. And again, I think this is one of the strongest. I think this is one of the strongest class cards that they announced. Probably not the strongest. The strongest is probably Dark Cultist. And the Webspinner is pretty good as well. The Death Spite, it's 4-2 is a really good number, but like everyone loves the True Silver Champion. And True Silver Champion is one of the best weapons in the game because a 4-2 for 4 mana is great, and the healing is just a bonus. So I think a 4-2 for 4 mana is going to be equally good for the Death Spite because 8 mana for 8 damage for 4 mana is great. Also, it's the same. The Death Rattles deal 1 damage to all minions is also like I think in some ways that's a lot better than the heal for 4 that the True Silver does, because it's a whirlwind basically, and while whirlwinds are situational, like in some odd cases, Death Spites in a control warrior is gonna like help because the whirlwinds isn't just damaging your own minions. Like warriors run a lot of cards like Acolyte and Armor Smith, so just deal 1 damage to all minions. Even if it just gets a bit of value, this weapon's like super good. I think a 4 mana 4-2 weapon wouldn't have been like terrible, and the card text just pushes over the edge and makes it like pretty good. Anyway, that was just like some strange opinions on these cards. I think Curse of Naxxramas is looking promising. I'm excited because I haven't. I'm really excited I'm excited for the cards, but I'm excited for the adventure mode as well, like how hard the bosses are going to be, and like if they